Hi guys, I want to briefly share with you an encounter that I had last night. I believe the Lord was illuminating a tactic and a wile of the enemy so that we can be wise to his schemes and his plans and we can avoid or avert them. And I wanted to share this with you so that you can also be aware, be praying into the situation, and maybe it will illuminate some of the things that you've been experiencing in your own personal life. So last night around 3 a.m. or this morning at 3 a.m., I was awakened. It's March 20th, 2020. I was awakened out of a very intense warfare dream. In this dream, I'd encountered a baby eastern diamondback rattlesnake, and it was in the room that I was responsible for taking care of. This room was dark, it was cluttered, there was a lot of stuff going on, and I knew that I was going to have to deal with this snake. And if you know about these type of creatures, these type of snakes, they will send a signal when they feel cornered or triggered or intimidated. They will begin to rattle their tail. It's a very distinct sound. You can hear it. It makes your skin crawl. It's not that great. I don't know how you feel about snakes. I'm not a huge fan. But in this particular circumstance, the snake was sounding off, and I knew that I was going to have to deal with him, but I was having trouble discerning where he was at because it was dark, but I knew because of the sound that he was there. And I remember building up internally, I was going to have to deal with this, and there's a lot of fear and anxiety in the air, and because it was dark and it was hard to find my bearings, I was having trouble actually discerning the location. But when I got to where he was, it was interesting because I expected a fight, and he rolled over on his back and he was very lethargic. I laid hold of him, I grabbed him by the head, I put him in a bag, and then I disposed of him. That's the truncated version of the dream for the sake of sharing it with you guys. And what I really felt like the Lord was illuminating was this thing of slander, this thing of false accusation, this thing of idle speech and idle talk. Now, in my understanding, and I understand there's a variety of interpretations, but I've been doing this for a little while, and the way I was trained was actually that snakes oftentimes will represent a tail. It's a play on words, if you will, not a T-A-I-L, but a T-A-L-E. So a story, a lie, a fabrication. And oftentimes they will vary in length, they will vary in color. Some of them will have big mouths, some of them will have rattles, and a lot of times the manifestation of the way that the snake shows itself in the dream is indicative of the type of lie or the type of fabrication or the type of story that it is. So what I'm actually believing that the Lord is saying right now is that a lot of this fear is rooted in a lie, and a lot of these anxieties and these attacks that you are experiencing are rooted in a fabrication or a tale or a vain imagination or an idle babbling. This is interesting because you would say, Justin, what does this have to do with anything right now? And I am so big on like fear and not allowing it to have a foothold in your life. I talk about it all the time. If you know me, one of my key verses that I harp on all the time is, you've not been given a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. And that the way that you counteract fear is not with one thing, but it's with a demonstration of power, manifestation of the love of the Father, and with the sound mind, the same mind that Jesus Christ had, the mind of Christ in operation inside of you. And I believe that right now the tactic of the enemy is to get you disoriented in who you are, to make you feel like you're not loved and you're powerless, so that you begin to partner with your speech with some of these lies. Now, some of these may not sound like blatant fabrications or alterations or fabricated stories, but they may sound like, I heard this from someone who heard it from someone who heard it from someone. And I would caution you, the Bible is super specific about how you use your speech and what you say and what you don't say, and what you set your sights on the realities of heaven, and let the thoughts of your heart and the meditation of your heart and the things that you say out of your mouth, let them be holy, let them be pure, let them be set apart unto the Lord. And I actually believe right now there's so much emphasis in this year and in this decade on it's the year of the mouth, and you get what you speak. So make sure that what you speak is what the council of heaven is saying. So pertaining this virus, pertaining the decree of the Lord and on earth as it is in heaven, I would strongly encourage you that you should let your eyes and your ears be influenced by what is happening in heaven and releasing that here on the earth right now in this present season. In a nutshell, I want you to know that the tactic of the enemy right now is slander, it's accusation, it's fear, it's a smoke screen of all of these things. Because if the enemy is actually backed into a corner and he no longer has anything to work with once you remove fear, and you will see him for who he is. I would propose to you that some of you, the light's about to get flipped on. You're going to see the snake for who he is. He's going to roll over on his back, and you're going to be able to dispose of him. One passage that I want to make you aware of is actually the passage where the snake comes out of the fire and it begins to bite him on the hand. And then all of a sudden, it's interesting, the snake is revealed, it bites him on the hand, the kingdom is at hand. All of a sudden, there's an accusation, there's slander that says, oh, there must be a sinner somewhere in his family, and that's why the snake bit him, because an old covenant mindset would illuminate this idea that sin causes you to be in sickness, or that somebody did something to put you there. But Jesus said, when he healed the man, he's like, actually, nobody sinned, but this was for the glory of God. It's interesting that when they accused him of that in this particular passage, that he didn't say anything. He just simply went about his business. And when they saw that his hand didn't swell up, when they saw that he didn't die because of the injury from the snake, they quickly flipped the narrative, and they said, rather than there's sin in his life, they said he must be a god. Little g, in case you were wondering, they weren't trying to worship him, but they recognized that there was something supernatural at work. So I would propose to you that the attack from the snake in this season is going to reveal slander and accusation on the part of the enemy, but you are to be silent and allow God to be your justifier, and watch the narrative flip in your life as you simply go about doing what the Lord has called you to do, and there will be a change in the narrative. So I hope this is helpful to you. I hope it makes some measure of sense, and be in prayer. Be seeking the Lord in this season. Look for those snakes so we can cut their heads off and throw them back into the fire.